Aliens are among us. And also, Disclosure Day just came out. Another movie by the one, the only Steven Spielberg. And we're going to break it down. Here we go.
Honestly, I think this movie comes at a perfect timing because the world is all about aliens. The world's talking about aliens. The government's talking about aliens. Every news outlet's talking about aliens. And honestly, guys, I think that this movie came out for a reason at this time. Call me a conspiracy theorist, but there's a lot of really deep themes in this movie about faith, about what's out there, about what the government's doing, about what other humans are doing when it comes to secrets that have been going on for decades. That's the big theme around this movie, is just like, can we trust the government? Can we trust humans? Is there other things going on out there? Do we need to question all the things we believed our entire life? And I think that's what this movie poses such a great question. It's like, hey, like, do we need to be prepared for something? And Steven Spielberg is obviously pretty known to make alien movies. You know, he's been doing this for a long time. But when you look at movies like Terminator, for instance, obviously we don't have killer robots on the loose right now. But it did propose a great question back in the 80s about AI. And now we're dealing with AI, and a lot of people are freaked out about AI. And what are the implications of that? And I feel like Hollywood's always been about predictive programming. To me, Disclosure Day is exactly that. What do you guys think about the themes of aliens, faith, government intervention? How do you feel about all that from this movie?
There's a reason why this movie came out when it did. You can go back all the way to the times of the Romans and the Colosseum. Generally speaking, there's a more nefarious thing going on, and then they try to distract us with something else to take our minds off of the real problems at hand. For example, in this situation, they're using aliens, extraterrestrials. They're already disclosing footage that they can't describe as nothing else other than extraterrestrials. They're preparing the masses for a disclosure in real life. I think they're using Steven Spielberg once again as an instrument to predictively program the masses in a very, very well done movie. This was an incredible movie, incredible acting, and they asked some serious questions like, will people lose their faith if they knew that or thought that there was other beings outside of this world? And the answer to that is, yeah, I think a lot of people would lose their faith. And my point is, if you don't have faith in something substantial, then yes, you can quote unquote lose your faith. But I would argue that you didn't have faith to begin with. So when this girl, the girlfriend, is questioning her faith, I have no problem with people questioning their faith. I've questioned things at times. That's how things get answered. That's how people come to a genuine faith, is you ask questions. I think, though, that aliens are not aliens. I think that they're demonic forces disguised as aliens. And just like they disguised them as animals in this movie, I think we're calling them aliens, but they're a different entity. Do I think that there's something else out there? 100%.
Yeah.
And I think that they're trying to get us more used to that by using this movie. But Roman, I want to hear your side.
We all three agree that we really, really like this movie. Steven Spielberg was classic Spielberg. John Williams came out of retirement to do the music for this movie, and it felt very classic. The script by David Kopp was really good. The acting, as Ty mentioned, was phenomenal. Colin Firth, in particular, was phenomenal. The actress that played Jane, the girlfriend, was really good. Josh O'Connor was excellent. I thought the character that stole the show, because I can't remember the actress's name right now, but the character that stole the show, even though she was on screen for a very limited amount of time, was the anchor in New York that was live reacting to the footage that was being released. She was phenomenal, and I want to learn her name because we're going to see her again. I want to take this in a different direction. Spielberg did not say this himself. This was something that was cooked up, you could say, by early reviewers. They said this movie will destroy your Christianity. And that was something that we saw reported a lot. Yeah. We went in knowing that this was out there, like that this was in the presses. And we watched this movie, and obviously Ty mentioned the character of Jane, who was basically the faith center of this movie, being, you find out that she used to be a nun, and then she left the church and she left being a nun. The reason that was given when she goes back to see the nuns, I think, is actually the point of this movie, where she said, you didn't lose your faith in God, you lost your faith in people, which I think is the fundamental theme of this movie, is human distrust. None of us, in talking about this movie, agree with the report that this movie would destroy Christianity. Like, I, in fact, think that Spielberg handled the idea of faith very well. Us all growing up in the church, you're taught in the church, like, make your faith your own as you get older. Don't just blindly adopt what your parents, like your parents' faith, make it your own. And so that comes with questioning, that requires questioning. And from a creative standpoint, that's something that Steven Spielberg has always done.
The narrative of the destroying Christianity is just, unfortunately, just common out there. Of Christianity usually is the first religion to get dumped on. At the end of the day, when it comes to that, this movie, the main nun, the main mother in the house, in the church, she said, when Jane questioned it, she said, well, of course there's other people out there. Like, why would God create this vast universe and not create other beings? Whether or not you believe aliens are out there and God created other beings out there, like the Bible talks about spiritual forces outside of God. And like there's angels, there's demons, there's all those different things. There's obviously a very real question of what has been going on in our world, because there's things that are unexplained. And so Disclosure Day proposes that of saying, hey, the government and other people have said that they've seen things, that there's things out there that they can't fully explain, and we don't know all the details. And at the end of the day, whatever is out there, the world should know what it is. It's exactly what God has always told us. There's a spiritual war going on. Just like, the aliens propose themselves as animals, we're seeing things that spiritual forces are wanting us to see, to kind of deceive us from what is actually going on out there. Because if you're not a person of faith, then you're just going to believe anything. And I think ultimately that's the goal, is that whatever that the government is eventually going to show us, the world is going to freak out and just like bow down to whatever that is. And so if you have faith in God, then you're still going to stick with that. You're still going to know that God is supreme. Because ultimately, God created everything, and Jesus is king. And so this movie proposes an interesting thing of like, hey, God created these aliens. And so no matter what, God is, like the nun said, like God is still the one who created. To me, that doesn't dismantle faith. It just proposes an interesting question of like, there's a lot of things we don't know.
You mentioned that we don't know, and I think that's the great human mistake, is that we think we know everything. Spielberg, in his career that now spans 35 films, that is something that he has approached full force in his entire career, not just Aliens with Disclosure Day and Close Encounters of the Third Kind and E.T. We're in a time now with movies where everything is such a reboot, such a remake, such rehashed and rewritten. And Steven Spielberg actually called this out recently. He said, we need more original stuff. Asking questions breeds creativity, not just what if, like in the case of Hook, where if like, what if Peter Pan grew up, but also why, how come, and where do we go from here? Because of where we are now in terms of the industry and creativity, I think these kind of creative questions are so foreign to a lot of people that then headlines of, oh, this is mocking Christianity, come out. A mark of a good movie is to make your mind go places. You should come out of a movie, of a cinematic experience, thinking not just about the action set pieces or the performances, but like, what was that trying to say?
I believe that people in power and people that are up to no good like to put things in your face. And so I think that in this situation, in this movie, there are things placed in our face like government hiding things because they actually do. And so it makes you question, like, okay, what is real, what is not? And now that we have AI, now you can question everything. Oh, was that AI or was that real?
Which they do in the movie,
right?
When the footage comes out,
we don't know. And if your faith is not rooted in something substantial, like you said earlier, Austin, you can just go with the whim of whatever is placed out there. And they ask a question in this movie is like, do people deserve to know the truth? Yes or no? And there is a group of people that said, yes, they do deserve to know the truth, even if it rocks their world and changes their whole worldview. And then there's another group of people that says, no, this would rock their world and we wouldn't be able to control the masses the same way if they knew the truth. And so I think in a lot of ways, this parallels the real world where the government says, if they actually knew everything that went on behind the scenes, people would freak out. They'd experience cognitive dissonance where they just literally can't wrap their minds around the fact that that's actually true. And I think that they did a really good job of portraying that in this movie. And I'll go a step further in that I believe, in my opinion, that they were alluding to certain things like demonic possession when that girl in the car gets possessed. And the reason I believe she was able to be possessed is because she didn't have a genuine faith. People that actually have a genuine faith in Christ cannot be possessed by anything other than the Holy Spirit. I think they're throwing it right in our face, is because we're going to have a real disclosure day in real life at some point in the future where they're like, hey, this is what's out there.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be what they say it is. It's going to be a way to try to control and use propaganda to control the masses like they've done for centuries.
The movie made it seem like once the truth is out there, then everything will be better. Whereas I think in real life, whatever is being, hidden from us, when that comes to light, it'll be to get everybody to follow a certain path. And when you look at it biblically with the end times, like the mark of the beast and all those different things, like something's going to happen to get everybody to follow one world government, one world way, to where everything has to fall in line. And something like aliens or a fear of something massive like that would cause people to, we saw what happened during COVID with like the vaccines and everything. Everybody just started freaking out instead of asking questions because you follow one narrative. And then you have a situation like aliens where it's so massive. They're like, okay, well, we're just going to follow what you do because you're going to save us, whoever this person is or the government or whatever it is. What I liked about this movie is that like Coleman Domingo's character, the whole reason he wanted to do it because he was telling Colin Firth's character, he was like, hey, like they deserve to know the truth. Like people are seeking the truth because ultimately we are all designed and created to want to find out what the truth is. We're all created to know our creator. And so ultimately we want the truth. We obviously all find it in different ways or find something that is a counterfeit because we think that could be the truth or could be the thing that saves us. But ultimately, this movie questions, hey, like we all want to know the truth, but where are you getting it from and what is the actual truth? And like who has the right to keep that from us?
What else was going on during this movie? World War III. I think in real life, we're on the brink of what some would say potentially World War III. And then they go a step further and say, okay, what's the one thing that we could distract the masses of World War III with? Oh, aliens. If they're disclosing something, i.e. Epstein files, let's go there for a second. Are they going to distract the masses with something else? You for dang sure they are.
And they did it during the pandemic too, where it was like, oh, they're distracting everybody from the vaccine by saying there's going to be a raid on Area 51 on this date. Like getting everybody focused on something else.
That's the reason that X and all the social media platforms are focused on all these, whether they're AI images or not, like aliens having contact with world leaders and all these different things that we see every day. At the end of the day, it's all a distraction to keep us from what the people in power are actually doing. And at the end of the day, that's what this movie showed. The person that he literally even said that in the movie. Colin Firth's character was like, well, I'm keeping it secret to protect the people. And the other person goes, no, you're doing it to protect your wealth and your power. That's exactly what the people are doing today. And so anything that happens in the future, mark my words, whether it's aliens or something else, they're trying to protect themselves from being caught for whatever they've been doing for a long time.
Well, we want to know what you thought of Disclosure Day. Again, we thought this movie was incredible. We just wanted to dissect it in a different way than just yet another thousands of reviews that are out there. So let us know what you think in the comments. We'd love to hear what you have to say. Please stick around. We are Fandom Fix. Stay tuned. We'll see you next time.
Yeah.